Happy to be here.
Hey, man, I'm glad to have you on the show, man. So this year, you got the number 2 draft choice, Brandon Miller. What and how does that make you feel to get this guy? And it's really a big time recruit. How it makes you feel?
No, it's a pretty good feeling, man. You know, the journey is long, and you put in so much work that you don't really have a lot of time to enjoy the moment, to stay present, because you're so focused. At least for me, I'm so focused on over delivering and over performing and being scrutinized and being watched and being critiqued by the industry and my peers and my competition that I live in a constant state of paranoia. You know? So I'm just trying to do the best I can and you know and keep the needle moving.
Hey, well, listen. So with that being said, when you think about the journey, let's talk about your journey. How did you get here? How long ago did you start your organization to get to this point?
Well, I started Spencer Sports Management in 2016.
Okay.
But my first official year of getting into the sports representation business was 2003.
Okay.
And that was in an NFL capacity. I got certified with the NFL in 2003 and practiced for about 9 years.
9 years. Okay. So, but give the people your background, your educational background, because I don't think you can just come up and be a sports agent anymore. And especially in this day and time as a brother and being scrutinized, what did you have to do to get yourself to that position to become a sports agent?
Well, you know, it all started, you know, I watched my dad, you know, run a hospital in St. Louis called Homer G. Phillips, an independent doctor. You know, he was general practice and did pretty much everything and serviced the community, serviced the people, you know, and he passed in 1997, my second year in college. But I saw a lot of my friends make it to pro sports. A lot of peers from high school go to the NFL. I went to a dominant football school in St. Louis, Hazelwood East.
Okay.
And I watched 10 of my friends like go pro, and I used to, you know, I felt left behind, right? So I said, well, if I could be an agent, I could stay relevant and still be a part of that journey. So as I finished my school, you know, schooling, I was a business major at Tennessee State, and my mom, you know, saw this video, which was called the Black Sports Agent Association.
Okay.
Which was founded by Andre Farr. Shout out to Andre Farr, the CEO who founded that. And so it was at that moment I flew to Vegas, coincidentally.
Okay.
And you know, Floyd Mayweather was there, Layla Ali,
the whole crew.
Yeah, it was deep, you know. And so there was a panel of basketball players and agents, and it just so happened to be Bill Duffy and Calvin Andrews of BDA.
Wow.
And this was in 2002, 2003. And this was the year they signed Yao Ming and Steve Nash.
Okay.
So they weren't there, but Calvin Andrews, who's currently with Clutch Sports, he represented Kareem Rush, Drew Gooden.
Okay.
They had a few guys that year. I think they had 6 or 7 first rounders. So once I saw those guys on that panel, I identified and said, you know, I want to be like y'all. And that's what kind of put that spark in me to chase the dream. And so after that, I went home and started reading CBAs for fun.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL, at the time, you had to have 1 degree to get your license, and then a couple years later, I think to weed people out, they added a secondary degree requirement.
Of course.
But just so happened in that year, I think it was 2004, I went and got my master's degree at Tennessee State in sports administration, exercise science. So I was already in position to take advantage of that opportunity, and so that's what inspired me to get my second degree, because I felt like, let me separate myself with education and kind of be an asset to these kids so that they can see, like, you know, how much education is a value, but also it would deepen my bandwidth as far as my business acumen, my relationships, and giving me like a solid platform to stand on, that even if the sports agent business didn't work, I could still go to corporate America and get me a 6-figure job and be successful.
So with that sports agency, what are some other things that you guys do with your agency? Besides, is it part management? Is it looking for other contracts with agents, other organizations? What do you guys do?
Well, it's a combination. You know, when I started Spencer Sports Management, the whole concept was you may not have a player, right, and you may not, you know, have the resume to say I've done billions of dollars worth of deals. But to your point, I'm a relationship heavy guy.
There you go.
So I had so many people that I knew that were agents that had incremental success and had
Mm-hmm.
certain players. So I always was able to find a niche to help
Gotcha.
somebody. So
Okay.
one of my guys, Brandon Grit, that's from Detroit. He represented Dwayne Devin, played for the Hawks.
Okay.
When he moved to Atlanta, I was
Okay.
his guy on the ground.
Okay.
I used to babysit dogs. I used to transport cars. I used to house it, find him a realtor.
Oh, so what you talking about? This wasn't like, this is out the mud type of thing. And
Yeah.
it wasn't no glamorous job at the beginning.
No, because
okay.
but I was living a life.
Okay.
I was with an NBA guy. I was with an agent.
Okay.
You know, I was able to learn. So I took any opportunity. I've shadowed agencies. I've shadowed players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, built relationships with people all across the board. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then ultimately, I was able to take all of those things and kind of package them up and, you know, use Spencer Sports as a platform to service people based on their needs until things align for me to have my own.
Wow. So, I'm going to ask this question because I want people to see the grind. But how old are you?
45.
45 years old. So the grind is real. See, everybody thinks the success comes overnight. You got to keep fighting, keep pushing, keep going up and up in the ladder, meeting people, building those relationships, and then getting to a point. Explain to the people, how did you get the young guy as a number 2 pick? How did you build that relationship and get them going?
Well, you know, being from St. Louis, you know, Brandon played for Bradley Beal Elite.
Okay.
But I grew up with the people who coached this program and ran this program for 20 years.
Okay.
So it was a combination of, you know, leaning on those guys to kind of co-sign and get some, you know, insight and a feel of the situation. And then me living in Nashville for 15 years, had a lot of commonality, relationships, and people that we knew in general. And they just told me that it was a great family, solid people, and just be yourself, you know, just take your time, you know, get to meet them. They genuine people, easy to talk to. And that's me. I'm a people person. So once they kind of gave me that feedback, I felt confident enough to just, you know, just shoot my best shot. At that point in time, I mean, I had 4 degrees.
Okay.
You know, by the time I met Pops. So, you know, it wasn't like I was coming in green.
Yeah.
I was ready, but I just had to sell myself and just let them know, you know, and be genuine about it, you know, and it worked out.
So now that it's NBA Summer League, Las Vegas, the biggest one, everybody's out here. Obviously, I got a chance to see the big fella play the first night against Wembanyama. I'm going to tell you personally, my own personal opinion, Wembanyama is probably about 4 years off. Of course, I saw the big fella Brandon play at Alabama on TV, but I was able to see him on that day. His shooting was a little off that day, but I don't have to see the scoring. I saw the movements and his skill set on the floor. He never got sped up on the floor. Yeah. He can get to a spot on the floor every single time. In my opinion, he should have went number 1. But let me ask you this about your sports agency. Can you now go into other arenas, or is it separate where you can't go back to football? Can you get major league players? Can you make a whole house of this?
Yeah, I mean, I played baseball. I had football representation experience, but I love scouting. I love the game.
Gotcha.
You know, so I study the X's and O's in pretty much every sport. And I understand what it takes for, you know, a football player to be what he needs to be at his position.
Okay.
Just as much as I know what a basketball player needs to have. So I watched Brandon since he was in high school. And believe it or not, when my business partner, Cal, at the time, told me to put my list together of future prospects, I think Brandon was a freshman in high school. I didn't even know him yet. But I just saw him on the rankings and I saw him on the list. And I'm like, okay, this kid's from Nashville. He's got good size. I think, you know, he'll be somebody I put on the radar. And then so 2 or 3 years later, I just locked in and went to work and started the recruiting process. And again, just watching him was a perfect example. You know, I could see a lot of the things that you mentioned. And so I saw it early. So it didn't take for me to see him on TV or see all the rankings and stuff. I watched him amongst his peers and then he dominated. It was easy, you know, putting up 20 and 10. You know, easy throughout the EYBL circuit. Out of 15 games, 10 of them he had 20 and 10.
Okay.
Right. And so a lot of these guys, you know, they had a lot of hype behind them, but he was just, you know, he had the complete package as far as skill sets. And so, you know, I didn't buy the hype. I just, you know, trusted the game.
So how do you, I guess this is the question. This is personal though, because I was nice back in the day. You understand what I'm saying? You think you can sign me and I can get a contract? No. Okay, you ain't got to answer that. Because back I was nice though, man. I'm gonna tell you, I was legit. I was nice back in the day. But just going through the process, y'all are here now. Vegas. what is that feeling like? You know, just to, now that you're here, you've arrived, and people probably like, how did Will score this guy? You just explained that, but what is it? How does it make you feel right now just to get to this plateau as a agency?
It's rewarding. You know, a lot of people, you know, joke on me and tell me like, dude, you got the number 2 pick, walk like it, act like it. But it's not an ego thing for
There
me,
you
man.
go.
I don't.
There you
It's
go.
cool, but I love to work, man. I'm a
Yeah.
grinder, so it's like when you grind it, you know, success comes with everything, you know.
Okay.
But if you don't know how to manage the ups and the downs,
Yeah.
you get lost. You get
Mhm.
lost in the sauce, as they say, you know.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like even kill, you know. So
Mhm.
it's rewarding to be able to be at summer. Because I've been coming to Summer League for the past 7-8 years.
Yeah.
But I love the game so much. That's why I come. So I'm trying to sit on the floor, even if I didn't have a client.
Okay.
Right. So I always said to myself, you know, that would be my trophy moment, to have a client, have my mom come to a game and
Wow.
watch me with my guy on the floor. So actually, this is like a dream come true in that capacity. But you know, to the world, it's cool. I appreciate the acknowledgements and stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, to see the competition, watch me and see me,
Yeah.
you know, basically, you know, beat him in a game of chess. That's the best part.
That's the best game. Okay, you mentioned chess. I'm about to see what you know about the game of chess. Okay, all right, all right. Real quick, what's the most powerful piece on the chessboard? See, I just did it. I did a whole segment on the podcast on this state champion podcast. I'm cold with this. What's the most powerful piece on the board? What have you been taught?
I have to be honest with you. All I do is play it on the phone and on the computer.
I thought you said you was a chess player.
And I know a queen can move everywhere. So that's about that would be the best answer for me.
Okay, that's the best answer. And probably 100 out of 100 people would say that.
Yeah.
So think about this. I'm gonna give you a concept. So if the queen can move forward, backwards, left, right, diagonal, as far as she wants, right? But one thing you got to remember, the queen can be taken and the game continues. When does the game end? When they take the king. So who's the most powerful person on the board? Never forget it, because the king only can make one step at a time. And when you making one step at a time, it has to be calculated.
That's deep. Okay.
So then, therefore, what you've done over these years, good brother, is been calculated, little steps at a time. See, the queen, she can do what she want to do.
I got you.
When you start to think about it, that's what's going on in our community now. Queen gets to do whatever she wants. You understand what I'm saying? And so the king is the king for a reason. And the name of the game is protecting that king. I just had to give you that side note. So you're the king of the court right now. So every move that you have to make, and even the young fella, has to be calculated.
For sure.
It cannot be all willy-nilly, we just gonna do this, we gonna do that, because that's how the game ends. Right. It's called checkmate once they take that king. So let the queen do what she do, but we got to do what we do as men. I have another thing for you. Can you just go back over your education? Break it down, every school you've gone to, so the young people can hear this, because a lot of people are trying to go pro in sports, okay? But see, you going pro in life. And so Brandon, as good as he is, his career, if he can go 20 years, that'll be excellent. If he goes 10 years, he'll be lucky, you know what I mean, in terms of this sports world.
Right.
How did you, in terms of it, get the kids and anybody who's listening who wants to get involved in this arena, your background, your educational background, because it's exceptional in my book. And I think a lot of people have to understand this is not a sprint, it's a long haul.
For sure. Well, I give my pops credit for that. You
Okay.
know, my dad was a surgeon, chief of surgery at a hospital called Homer G. Phillips. And the story was told that he was, you know, programmed to be a doctor since he was 5 years old. He was a straight A student. You know, he grew up in poverty, so to speak, in East Chicago, Gary, Indiana, you know, but went on to be top his class and everything he did, competed at a high level, but did things his way. And so watching him build his legacy, even though it was short-lived, I mean, he passed when I was 19, but all I knew was he was stern, he was successful, and he was heavily educated. So I always just held on to that and said, look, no matter what happens, you know, you can't never go wrong being over-educated or over-dressed, as they say.
There you go.
So I just continue to find, you know, comfort and direction in education, because it just kept opening up doors for me. Because, you know, like I said, life is about relationships and opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I remember sitting in the studio one day, and all of my music buddies and big-time producers, you know, they were like, man, you got 4 degrees and you sitting up here in the studio, man, like, what you doing with your life? And he's like, you know, and somebody said, explain that. I said, I got options.
There you go.
And it shut the whole room down. They couldn't. It was almost they started clapping.
Oh, hold on real quick. That lady, I told her I had options once upon a time, but there was some other ones. Don't worry about it, but go back to your story. Go ahead, go back to your story.
but like I told you, after I got the second degree at Tennessee State,
okay,
in order to satisfy NFL requirements, years later, I wanted to kind of diversify my education, learn some more, see some more. So I decided to go to Georgia Tech.
Okay.
And this was in my 30s, right? So I said, international, executive MBA.
Wow.
I was a non-traditional student because I was pretty much an entrepreneur in a room full of 15, 20-year executives trying to move, laterally in their careers. And I'm kind of like the oddball, like, oh, this dude is an agent trying to do something, but we don't know what he's doing, right?
What he's doing, okay.
But, Georgia Tech allowed me to travel the world. I spent 2 weeks in China, 2 weeks in Europe. And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. But I also knew that by going to these universities, it gave me a platform to where I could recruit players.
Wow.
I don't want to give away all my jewels. But,
don't
but
give
it allowed
away.
me to recruit players, alumni events. Right? I'm from that program. So now I can kind of move freely in a way where I could help the kids from an educational perspective. Kids want to get into schools. They want to have access to certain opportunities. Tech and Georgia Tech is it's a big part of it. So, opportunity, startups and things of that nature. They had competition. So investor opportunities. So I wanted to kind of leverage that. So I got that degree to kind of just add some extra juice to my resume. And then that was 2012 when I graduated. So between 2012 and 16, did a bunch of entrepreneurial stuff. And then I decided to go to Georgetown.
Okay.
Because they had a new program, the sports industry management program. And it was a lot of NBA and NFL personnel. Tommy Shepard, former GM of the Wizards, was one of my professors. Joe Briggs, head legal counsel of the NFLPA. So I was able to learn from these guys in real time and open up a better understanding. Because at this time I'm pushing 40, so I'm thinking okay, now you're getting somewhere. At least you got some strong relationships.
Yes,
that could really help you in the sports space. But I had also been seeing these guys. Why? Because I've been in summer leagues. I've been at basketball games. I'm spending time with players. So over the years, it kind of just accumulated to the point where, it all came together. And so again, it was to strengthen my business acumen and my sports, relationships and education, and then essentially put myself in a position where after I finished my agent career, I could be a front office executive, because that's the checkmate for me. I said, well, you know what, be an agent, blow that up. And then, maybe one day a team might say, look, we want you to come help run the team. And so the education is valued in that space, even though not in the agent world.
Okay.
But in the front office, it is. So I kind of was planning for that.
Yes.
For the long haul.